Solo se nos pregunta.
Sí, lo demás escucháis. Egunon, sail ofizialeko filma El Muerto y Ser Feliz izenekoa ikusi berri dugu.
Good morning. This is the press conference of The Dead Man and Being Happy. This is a press conference. This is a press conference, as I was saying, of the official section, The Dead Man and Being Happy. And we've got the director, Javier Rebollo, actors and actress, José, Sacristan, and Valeria, Alonso. The scriptwriter, Lola, Mayo, a producer, and also both producers are here as well. And they're going to answer your questions when you comment. You can start now. Thank you. Hi. Yes. Good morning. I would like to ask José Sacristan. He knows Argentina, and I imagine quite a lot because he spent a lot of time in working in Buenos Aires. But what drew my attention is there's almost the director in the way he presents the Buenos Aires in the trip, the journey through Argentina and throughout Argentina. I would like to ask you what was your knowledge and know-how of the country, because you show it very closely and very well in the film. The question is for the director, or no? It's more for the director. I'm sorry, but obviously you could also contribute your knowledge there as well. You answer for me. No, you answer for yourself. Initially, I think the film doesn't deal with a portrait. The idea is not to make a realistic portrait of a specific country. It's an interpretation. That is an interpretation, obviously yours, but I think Javier should answer this, the director. I know Argentina very, very well. The truth is, I've traveled there many times, and I've always been doing theater in Buenos Aires, apart from we did A Place in the World, where I knew the province of St. Louis. Now I spent the whole of last year doing a show with Machado's poems from top to bottom, so therefore I've learnt a lot about Argentina. I think everything in this film that has to do with Argentina, the idea is not a chronicle or a situational chronicle of the behavior or the customs of a country, but an interpretation of what happens there. But I think Javier, the director, should answer that better. I think it's a nature documentary. The Argentinians are marvelous, absurd, and crazy. It's almost cinema verite, real life cinema. I love Argentina. I made this film to get to know Argentina better. What makes a film as a pretext for things to happen to you, a pretext to meet good-looking girls, to meet Pepe, to learn more about a landscape. And this film, which is made in a very shot in a very joyful manner over 6,000 kilometers. 6,000 kilometers, it allows you to meet a lot of people in many places, and all of that you include in the film. Some things stay and some don't in the film, but yes, we knew a lot about Argentina. That's why we went there to make the film. Albeit, well, I thought about France, but it's too hygienic, too small, too many motorways and too many tolls that you have to pay. Hi, Roxana Vasquez from Ces Cinquena. Along the lines of the same question, sentimentally and emotionally, the link between José with Argentina, and what was it to shoot the film there, and what was the experience itself? This would take a long time to answer. There's many years that's linked me to Argentina, many things professionally as well as personally. And the truth is, last year was an experience which was formidable and the most interesting experience that I've lived through, apart from the shooting of the film itself. When I arrived in Buenos Aires, I got in touch with my friend, the producer Osvaldo Babaleo, who did A Place in the World with me. He was a producer, also a theater producer, and I talked about what I was doing in Spain, and I did it in El Cursal with Judith Jauregui a few months, walking with Antonio Machado of the blue days to the sun of his childhood, and he started to set things up with Facundo Ramirez, the son of Ariel, and it was an experience which was, and I dare say, let's talk about the film, but I'll try to tell it as briefly as possible. It was formidable because it's been a demonstration of how envious that Argentina has to do with curiosity. No, I'm not talking about its sensitivity or how intelligent. No, there is a latent curiosity in Argentina, in that country. Because I spent from Misiones all the way to the north and the south of Argentina. It has to do, and it's quite similar to it has to do with culture. The experience was fantastic. It was quite astonishing. Everywhere where we played, where we did the theatre work, how well they played the piano and how we recited Machado's poems, it was almost apostolic. No, I've adopted SAN diplomas in many cities, and you got everything. I was given a load of gifts and this, that, and the other. But the shooting of the film itself was an experience in itself. It's a country. It's a fantastic country. I only knew about in the film. If there was a moment in which Pepe, the actor, and this is a perfect answer to know the relationship that Pepe has with the Argentinians, there was a moment, and that's why I hired him. So as a box office to make a lot of money, and plus they're good actors, but all of the acting cast. In the life of Pepe, if he had presented himself to the elections in Argentina, he would have won the elections. Well, I don't know, president. I don't know whether he would have won the elections in Argentina. That's how much he's linked. This goes back to A Solos en la Madrugada, which is a film that I made, and it's quite particular. Are there any more Argentinians in the room that want to ask questions? Hi. I'm interested in a part of the film. The music in the film, it's very eclectic. There's a lot of Argentinian music and also Spanish music, and it goes all the way. A Huayno in Quechua, which is autochthonous, was written by the director himself. I would like to ask the scriptwriter and the director how you thought about this, how you'd planned the soundtrack, which is quite eclectic, and which is very important in the film. I think that part of the music was music that we found when we were preparing the film itself. And we also wanted at the end to be very epic in its sound, to talk about the legend of Santos, which was sung in Quechua, in the Quechua language. Oh, no, sorry, not Quechua, in Aymara, the Aymara language. And we worked with musicians from there, but who lived in Spain. And there's also a part which is also beautiful and very interesting, which José contributed, of songs that he liked very much, and many of them are also sung, and moments that didn't belong to the film but were recorded, and we've incorporated it to the sound fabric of the film. We talked Lima and Limon. Pepe wasn't singing this for the film, but it fitted in very well with the story that the film tells. And to go further in depth and include that even more to the script, how the script was written and how it was constructed. From the beginning, when Javier and I started to write, we are not Argentinian, neither do we know or perfectly know the reality in Argentina. So therefore we wrote with an Argentinian who is called Salvador Riselli, the scriptwriter of Carlos Sorin and Alessandra Alonso. That allowed us to know the real life situation of the way they talk there. And I say the way they talk because we always identify the Argentinian way of talking with the people from Buenos Aires who have visited us the most in Europe. But there's an enormous amount of people who speak in very different ways in Argentina. And that put us off at the beginning because we didn't understand. We needed the need to be able to interpret and to talk in the same way, language-wise. But the fun thing is what we allowed people to speak the way they spoke, like the woman who says, I think it's the carburetor. For me, it's the carburetor. And when she says that, if you tell her to say it in a very certain way, it's not impossible, but it doesn't sound right. It's not the way she speaks. So I wanted to highlight that existence in the accents of every place were maintained, albeit one of the principles was you find actors who are from Buenos Aires and they will imitate the accents from all the different regions. Obviously, a good actor can do this, but not in the sense of the film. It's true what Martel, who we admire and we shared the team, the films by Lucrecia, and the actors from in all the different places. They are actors. They are not from that imitate the people from that part of the Argentina, that part of the region in Argentina. Another person, I want to thank them, and a French guy who's in the audience to do the film. Imagine so many kilometers. It doesn't make the film better or worse, but I think it makes it genuine, authentic. You know what it is to move 6,000 kilometers and to take the actor on each place with a color in each place. And I don't know whether you notice it, but it's very beautiful, because as the landscape changes, the color of the skin changes, but also the music, when they talk, changes without forcing it, but you notice that slowly but surely over the kilometers. And even apart from the physical deterioration of the character, there's a poetic deterioration. What changes is the landscape and the color of the accents. And that's thanks to the fact that we had temporary people that allowed us to put a lot of gasoline. We set up some conditions: no tangos and no sweet milk. It's a drink, or it's a sweet that the people eat in Argentina. Okay, good morning. Hi, Darian Shigman for Caiga from Argentina. The question is for José Sacristan. José, for me it's an honor to be able to be here in this festival and asking you a question. How popular you are in Argentina and everything that you worked, that famous of being alone in the dark. We're not alone in this 60th San Sebastian International Film Festival, and to be sharing and to be able to ask you how difficult it is for us to fly to Argentina because of the economic crisis, and how difficult it is to buy foreign currency, and how far it is, and to come all the way here and to be able to be this press conference with you and to be able to share along with other colleagues this moment, to be in front of a person who is that important, and his director and all the people that have worked in the film, and a film which, the truth be said, is very good and beautiful. And I'm sure, did you see it? No, but I read the reviews, and I was told it was beautiful, and we're very happy, and that's why I say we're very anxious to see it in our country and for it to be premiered. And the question for José was the flight okay? The flight there was, yes, it was good. It was a great flight. Yes. Normally, the panic that I've got to flying is something that drives me crazy. It's almost a disease. I try to resolve it based upon these pills that are friendly, a doctor and a few whiskeys, which make me fly very well. The problem is that the flight was delayed. And I went over the top with drinking too much whiskey. Okay, thank you very much. I'm very happy to know that we use the same system. We've got the same system when we fly. Very kind. No, I mean, I didn't cause any scandal on the flight because my wife was coming with me. But the flight went very well within a certain order. Okay, thank you. Very kind.
Hola, buenos días. Quería preguntarle a...
Hi, I want to ask Javier Rebollo about the film and the plot, for example. You talk about what is and what isn't at the same time. It's not compatible. One of the jokes on the cassette, it's not compatible to tell the truth and a lie at the same time. But you, with that voice on off, I don't know how you force the machine with that narrative anti-cinematographic voice. And José Sacristan, I would like to ask you how you've turned things around to a character, a type of role that in Hollywood we're used to seeing, like as a terminal patient, but you've given it another perspective. Thank you. Well, all the contrary, I think it's a voice on off which is completely cinematographic. It's not normal to see it, but it's super cinematographic. Is that me? No. It's a voice which opens all the possibilities. You said something which was beautiful. You were saying it's true and it's a lie at the same time. It's just like this guy here from Kega Kengaya. At the same time, he knows how to be serious and he knows how to be stupid. He knows how to be informative but not give information. Everything's possible. And with this film and this voice, which is cinematographic, what we seek is to seek. There's a suspicion of what's real. It describes what's happening, but slowly but surely that starts to displace itself, and we enter into another field, the field of be careful, don't trust everything you see. Like in Citizen Kane, when at the beginning in Charles Foster Kane says, don't trust everything you hear on the radio. Well, in this film, at the beginning, we say, be careful, don't trust everything you're watching. Images can fool you, you've got to not trust them. And the voice is like a false narrative a narrator. It's a voice of someone that tries to... it's the voice of a person who is melancholic, tries to find the film without achieving it. Is it a true or lie? Is he a villain or a tender person? Is he a liar and is he telling the truth? Both things. When he says, founded in 1967, and it says, I don't remember what it says. On the signal, is it a gag or is it a mistake? Well, it's both things at the same time. The film is not contradictory, it's paradoxical. The film is a paradox, and that's the interesting side to it. That makes me think, well, don't trust, because memory makes us mistake how things happen, and as the film goes ahead, the voices are mixed up, and the myth appears of this character who's it's like the Cid, like Don Quixote, and the great characteristic of the myth is it opens up to many possibilities. That's why the voice says, perhaps what happened was, or did they go through this or that and the other. For me, as a viewer, as a director, very few directors have done this before, and I say this in a very vainful and very proud way, because the coexistence of several voices at the same time, beyond language, and not only voices, that in the same shot, the present, the past, and the future appear. This is very cinematographic. When they run over the dog, remember that scene? There's a voice that says, it was dusk. He puts it in the past as if it were a myth. Erica drives, we're in the present, which cinema shows you the present of 24 photograph frames on the screen, and in 10 minutes time a dog's going to cross the road. And how that short in a sequence can contain the present, the past of the myth, and the future of what's going to take place. And I think it's a very rich voice. It's not arbitrary, it's well thought of, but what happens is, at the beginning, it's a short circuit, it puts you off. It's just like us. Sound disappears when the voice comes in. It's something Lola and I have calculated very much, but slowly but surely, we want to think and believe it's a voice which drags you along and hypnotizes you. But I also want to confess, it's the DCP. It's an era of DCP. This is a voice that I prepared for a commentary for the film, and it was going to appear in the DVD. But please see it again, because the film is without the voice. But the DCP was turned on, and you've seen it with an audio commentary. No, and I enjoy this because each projection, as Juan Ramon said in a book, it's a different side of projection. And I love the film with the audio commentary. And I think we're going to distribute it that way. But if you want to see it again, and now I'm not joking, tonight, there's no audio commentary. You'll see it's a film which is completely different. I don't know whether I've answered your question. As regards to my work, well, initially, apart from the references I may have as being played by other actors to characters in a similar situation, it was clear in my mind, first of all, because this character is tailor-made, that Javier and Lola made from the outset of when the script, and from the outset, as a basic element to construct this character, a film that I had made and written and directed and played, which was Cara de Alcelga. This could have been Cara de Alcelga 2, the sequel, but because it's got elements, and amongst them, the copla, flamenco, the local singing, DDT jazz, so there's a latent nostalgia and a look back which is latent in that which was in that film and in that character. So therefore, it's built based upon all of these different elements, and bearing in mind also the chapter of memory, that is, what I remembered of the ups and downs and vicissitudes of El Castañita, that prodigal child who sang flamenco and ended up being a hitman in Argentina. And he ended up later on running away from death and running towards it. So therefore, for me, there's not been, better said, a reference or a model when constructing this character, based upon material which is very close, apart from what the script had laid out. And I totally agree with Javier and Lola of using residual things that came from that film that I did, La Cara de Alcelga. Who have never seen that film, well, La Cara de Alcelga has been re-edited, not very well, but I recommend you watch it. It's a marvelous film, not very well known, which was directed and played by him. It's a road movie in Castile and La Mancha, and it's marvelous. Cara de Acelga, it's a very short film. It's a road movie. We didn't get out of the province of Madrid because we didn't have enough money. The budget was short. Now, in this case, we've gone right over the top. And as regards death, you asked before, playing like Javier Bardem, a dead man who sweats, who loses weight, who feels, and it seems like he's dying, I think that's obscene and a lot of work. I'm sorry, I'm saying it quite clearly. I'm not interested at all. I remember the people in the makeup in Argentina, who are very good, by the way, said, well, this is the budget for makeup. And I saw the budget for makeup, and with that, we can get very, very drunk because our makeup was just a little band-aid, just very little. There's a you don't need more. There's a psychological way of playing a role, another which is poetic, like Jean-Pierre Léaud or James Cagney, Michael Caine or Pepe Sacristan, who make it look real, but in another way, less suffering for him. And we didn't want to work upon death from how solemn and how serious it is. We want it to be enjoyable. No one has died. Have you died ever? Any of you died ever? No one's died yet. So therefore, how are you going to film someone who's dying without you feeling an imposter? Well, that would be false, wouldn't it? So that's why Chachal Guitry, working with Michel Simon, marvelous forgotten French director, I want a great death, and Charles Guitry says, I'll give you the best possible death. And he falls behind a desk, he said, and he died with a lot of suffering. It's very difficult to film death, and we've done it with humor and tenderness. In fact, he doesn't die. He's an immortal character. I would like to say one thing as regards to the issue of death. Javier and I what we have done is, by coincidence and also by choice, a lot of documentary work upon death, upon terminal patients who have AIDS and cancer, which is called Documentos TV for Spanish television. And we've done this for many years, and this is an issue that without having died, like obviously Javier says, we know very well. We spend a lot of time with people who are about to die. And we realized that just like there's many ways of living, there are many ways to be dying. So therefore we met a lot of people who were really about to die or very close to death, and for example, some were smiling, others were depressed, others were very happy, some were euphoric. So everyone was in a different way, and the physical aspect, and also the case of this being close to death, was what we imagine of a great deterioration, and others were not, because the illness was inside. And we wanted to take full advantage of what we knew about people who were truly about to die or close to death in a hospital or in their homes. And this allowed us to construct Santos, this character, and also to deconstruct it. And we realized that the people who are around death aren't dressed in black and said, this guy's going to die next to me, who's near me. And that's why Valeria's character emerged. Imagine a nurse, that's the humanitarian side, telling him, okay, you're going to die, you're going to have a horrible, and it's going to be very cold, and you're going to faint. And they can say that in a very horrible way. They can tell it with your nails painted with red, as Valeria said in the film. But perhaps because we described it that way, but I also think that because someone like Valeria couldn't play that character, who, the truth be said, is the accumulation of all the female characters in the film. The same thing happened to Valeria. Perhaps she plays a nurse for dead people. What's that all about? For me, he's a patient and also a client, so to speak, in a way. And the truth is, when I received what I had, my dialogues, I thought the way of saying what I had to say in the dialogues, from melancholy or piety, or neither from drama or solemnity, I had to inject joy and that bit of, and a piece of happiness, which the title of the film indicates, the dead man and being happy. There was no doubt in my mind of having to play the role that way and convey it that way. Was it difficult to portray that character? Yes, I had to train for some time, and I think it came out quite well. But I think in Santos, I think I would have done the same thing I would have allowed myself to wank off and to escape from the hospital. As a nurse, it was I had to, in a fun way, enjoying the adventure of Santos as well, in the same way. Hi, good morning. Okay, I want to make the following remark. I hope to see a film which was outside what is normal and what we're used to. It was difficult because it was early this morning at 8:30, but I enjoyed it, and so therefore, thank you very much. I wanted to ask you, you've talked about the music and the soundtrack. I would like to ask you about the music, specifically a song which is the Yen song, Nacho Vegas, if I'm not mistaken. Why use that specific song? And at the end, and I do ask Mr. Sacristan, in 1987 in Madrid, we saw you flirt with Maria Valverde, who's much younger than you. Now here, in a film, that is to say, she's not as young as Maria Valverde, but she's much younger than you, obviously. In your next film, what are you going to do? Is another younger girl, or what's the story there? Very interesting question. First of all, I'm occupied with a theatre project, and I don't know what my next film is going to be. But the truth is, and beyond the joke and the humour and that wink to the relationship with older or younger women, it's very difficult to find an actress who's much older than me, because practically they've all disappeared or died. So therefore, so there's no choice that I've got to work with younger people, because the older characters and actors don't exist, or actresses don't exist now. But it's quite curious what you say. Madrid 1987 is a film that we shot amongst in the nude. And there were 6 pages, and when it's about being dead and being happy, we started in Buenos Aires and we ended up in Bolivia. And there were days that after going 2,000 kilometers, I said one sentence. All I had to say was a few words, a couple of phrases. The experience was formidable in the work we carried out. And with Javier and Javier and Maria, it was a relationship, and Roxana, it was a relationship of friendship. And all of the events that have taken place throughout the films, after more than 100 films that I've done, this is one of the most satisfactory films that I've had throughout my entire career. Nacho Vegas, yes, at the beginning and the end, it links the 2 moments in the film. Juan Miguel Compani, who's a great analyst and poet of writing, he said, this man, as in those 2, the music is repeated, perhaps he never left the hospital, and perhaps everything that you've seen is delirium because of the excess of morphine he's being administered. That music, as happens in life, as a coincidence, when we were shooting that beautiful shot, slow and long, that the camera literally penetrates inside through the window, and we see Santos and also José Sacristan, because this film, we've played with the fact that they're both in the character, and José Sacristan appears like in the film of the 70s. I was shooting that, and some guy was walking by, was saying, hey, listen, this would be great with the music of Nacho Vegas. And I put it on, I said, cool, that sounds, and that's why we used it. Uno, that guy's a friend who feeds the film, takes care of my life, and is sitting at the back there, by the way, Juan Astrueva. He put them on, and I listened to it, and I said, it's music that seems that comes from the earth, springs from the soil. It's electronic, but in turn, there's guitars that sound in a certain way. And Finn, that memorable shot. Do you see how Pepe Sacristan eats the ice cream? It's very difficult to eat ice cream the way he's doing it. Every time you eat an ice cream, he falls down, and it drips on the side. You know how hot it was there. How tenderly and putting his entire life into eating. I've never done it again the same way. Pepe doesn't even eat sweets. He doesn't eat sweets, so imagine. That's fantastic. Okay, I'd like to ask the director and also the actress who's here, by the way. The vision of the women in the film is very positive. It's almost life vis-a-vis death. Or Sacristan's death, are all Argentinian women, and this is, if they're Argentinian women, I'm sorry, are they so that vital? Because the protagonist, she's going through a depression, she's coming out of her own problem, but she's a very vital type of life, full of life type of woman. all the women who come with me are women who are joyful, and the Argentinians who I've met, they are full of joy and over the top. Although she looks very phlegmatic and very serious here, and I wanted, and it's true, that next to Santos, we wanted beautiful women to be around him, because the role of who looks like his daughter, who is Alejandra, the blonde girl who looks at him with the eyes from that bed, who are very beautiful, a Catalonian woman, a girl, Maños or whatever, I don't remember the name, who was 80-odd years of age. And all of a sudden, she didn't arrive, this 80-year-old. I said, what the hell? Let's put in a very good-looking woman. And this fed the figure of, without being pastiche like Tarantino, the figure of the hero to be surrounded by beautiful, fantastic, beautiful women. I said, in the trailer I said, beautiful women, beautiful girls. And it's a type of life. When I was shooting the film, I want to convince, there was a lot of suffering when I directed. This doesn't make the film better or worse, but it makes it as it is. And there was a lot of suffering when I was shooting the film. I wanted to shoot it in a very full of joy way. That's why there's a lot of comedy, noir comedy, and then stupid and very intellectual, but there's a lot of joy. It's full of joy. That's why it's filmed in that sort of kindness of the women and alcohol and quick editing, because as I wasn't too fine-tuned, I wanted to forget things. And I realized when I did this, I got it right. Well, Santos, what he wants to do is to not stop, because if he stopped, it makes him remember, it makes him suffer. In the press book it says, I think Milan Kundera said this very well, he said, in all road movies, that's what happens. The speed limit is proportional to your if you're slow, it's proportional to your memory. You suffer, and that's why Pepe or Santos runs, and he's always in the mood. That's why our team, and we were like bandits very quickly, and that's me. I was going through hell, and I didn't want to stop, and that's why I took very few shots, and I did it very quickly. And at the end of the day, the argument was, the plot was perfect. Each film is a documentary of itself. At the end of the day, we were running away from something that was all happening to us all. And a start of a woman for an 80 years, he wanted to be with Alejandra and young, beautiful-looking girls. At the end of the film, I don't want to stop now, at the car, when he eats the ice cream, I wanted all the girls to be, only one, I wanted all the girls to be, but it was very expensive to bring all the girls back again. But it would have been great that he's eating the ice cream and they're all looking at him. That would have been fantastic, but I couldn't do that. Well, how are the Argentinian women? Oh, there's a bit of everything. It's just like in Chinchon. There's a bit of everything. The average is spectacular, by the way, generally. The truth is to be said. And characteristics are very thankful and in general. But there's a bit of everything. Those we're crazy, those of us that are crazy, we're a bit more, we get things right generally, but in general, and not all of us, because I don't know what that means. I can say that, yes, there's a lot of energy in Argentinian women. You can smell Latin America in every cell and every other pores. After spending 9 years abroad between Spain and France, going back, and I remembered and I felt and recover to a certain extent that energy that is in the women of Argentina and men as well, which is a country which is quite delirious and marvelous at the same time for me. Hi, I wanted to ask Javier, when you constructed this epic finale or ending and the hero sort of scene, you've used Western because it's voice on off, which there's two guys that talked away. It's like a Western in the ending with the song and the background music and so on. I don't know whether you see it in the same way. Yes, that's the only cinematographic reference. When we were making this film, I told Pepe I wanted him to do something like Bill Murray as a reference. Bill Murray, and I think we got it right. But there's no references to the film. I tried to do it on its own. But that ending, yes, it's well contemplated. I saw afternoon sessions when I was a child, when you had Fritz Lang's Westerns, Anthony Mann's Westerns, and I liked those films. When they finished, there's a song which tells you the end. It tells you the ending. It's like a blind man's romance, and very cinematographic, albeit it sounds very anti-cinematographic, and a voice on off, and the bandit crosses the border, and then there was a duel when it was at sundown, and he died, and the bandit, and you say, well, Jesus, they've killed him, and they sing it to you. Why? Because it makes him a legend. Rancho Notorious with Fritz Lang, Marlene de Ditch, and Arthur Kennedy finishes like that. So therefore we knew that we wanted several endings to in the film. We had the women without a piano, and Santos dies, but he can't die. And all of a sudden the voice of Lola's voice said, no, perhaps not. Then he keeps walking. Well, Jesus, he's alive again. No, it's both things. And then the epic voice comes in, which is a very blind romancer, Santiago Lestero. You can see him in Montevideo with another woman riding a horse, and then he's across the border and he keeps killing. The myth opens itself to all possibilities. And, well, I don't want an ending. It's an immortal ending. The myth of Santos keeps living, and the myth of Pepe Sacristan continues to live. I would like to ask another, if you don't mind me saying, apart what you're saying. First of all, just one thing. From the script, we knew we had created a hitman. That's the story. But when that hitman appears incarnated by José, it was thought of for him to portray the role. The bodies change things. It's not the same thing that I say hello, that you say hello, albeit you and I are saying the same thing or whatever. It's not a question of playing the role, but bodies and people are different. So the fact that Pepe played the character, and we found it when we looked at it in the editing room, it changed the character around in the sense that how can a hitman, how can one love a hitman, or how can you like a hitman? Well, so therefore, sorry, the hitman is calling me now on the phone, I'm sorry, but when we did the editing, we realized that hitman, we liked him too much, and we had to create the editing and work with the voice on off, which was there. It was an audio commentary. Sorry, the dog was put in the car and we was took to a vet. That's horrible. But that's what happened. That was horrible. But we had to go against what Pepe had played as an actor. When he saw the first editing, he said, "I didn't make this film at all." He says, I want to charge you. It's really funny. You want to charge again. The script said one thing, and the film in the editing room was in the editing. We had to go against, so to speak, of the kindness of the character to recover something which is very important, which is that this man has really killed people. He's a hitman. And he's killed people in a period of Argentine history where a lot of people died with the names that he recites, but with others. We wanted with those names to recover the fact that this man, albeit he shoots at cans, he's truly killed a lot of human beings. So therefore, that was a script work that had to be set up in the editing room. But everything I'm saying, to transfer on this to somebody else, I would like the producers, José Nolla and Lluis Miñarro, who are here today, to talk about how difficult this film. I'm not referring to the fact that may not be important to you, but that's something, whether it's very difficult, it's costly or not very, or we did it, how much we spent on the hotels or accommodations, not stupid, obviously, but how difficult of how material to believe that this film could be made, this structure which is so difficult, which was also difficult for the script writers, the director, but to believe and accept the challenge of the difficult structure, or the difficult, I would even say, digestion that the film may have. For me, it was very easy, I can assure you. For me, it was very easy. Lola? Yes. It might be difficult, and for Pepe, it might be difficult for these two to achieve the money, but for me, it was great. I'm not referring to a money issue of production. I'm also a producer of the film. It's not that everybody knows this. It's not only a question of money, but of seeing where this film is going from a materialistic point of view. From a material point of view, if we go back in time, there's a moment in which we as producers, there's something which is quite clear. The film has to be simply what we've seen and narrated, or the film has to maintain that voice on off, which to a certain extent has a risk to it. It's an artifact. It's a device through which it's either the spectator is involved or rejects the entire process or the proposal. But we decided to play that card, and they say we had a lot of doubts in our mind I want to be sincere and necessary. There's a lot of doubts, but at a certain moment we understood that was a film, and that was a narrated film, which was almost literary, and that was a film which is the audiovisual film. They say there was two in one, so to speak. So people should pay 2 tickets to watch it. Or we'll talk about the sponsors to ask for triple the money so that we can make the next film. Well said. The next is going to be adaptation of Hans Christian Andersen, The Match Girl. Sorry, we can't hear the question without a microphone. Sorry. Is it similar to Cody's Maki? No, Cody's Maki is not based, at least, upon Christian Andersen's. It's The Little Match Girl. No, it refers to Hans Christian Andersen's story. I want to use a match girl of Griffith's match girl of Dickens' story and put her in today's time. Not make a silent film today, but a silent film and put it in today's situation. It's poetic and political, which is very interesting, with a marvelous Swiss actress who's over there, who's called Simona, and I want to start to shoot it straight away in Paris, Madrid, and Berlin, just in case you want to know. I hope you watch it and enjoy it like you've enjoyed The Dead Man and Being Happy. Let's hope we get the money. That's what our cinematography, one of the resources, we've got to have sufficient elements to be able to construct amongst several of us, because this is an ensemble piece, production of this nature, to be able to achieve with several of us to carry out a project of that type. If the Institute Cinema or the Ministry of Culture fails, or the TVs fail, it's impossible to make this type of cinema. This is the current situation and the risk we run. Yes, because you know that some people don't want more films to be made. I think we're in a bad situation, but like anti-flu medicine, cinema is necessary. I want to know how they live in Iran, how people live in Japan, and how my neighbor in Vicavero lives. And that's what we tell in stories. And in a little while, this year, very in San Sebastian, there's going to be less films, and even things are going badly. I don't think like Onamono is, if you don't say anything, it's good. We're sick and tired of revenge or like the people in Granada say, of fucking things up. We're just humble artists. We want to make films. That's the way we express ourselves. And the way you live, you make money, and my father and my family know how people live in other places, and that's what we do in cinema. And it doesn't look good. The scenario doesn't look good. No, it doesn't look good. But we will keep going. We'll keep making movies. Thank you very much for listening and for watching the film The Dead Man and Being Happy.
La